Alessandra and Freddie have to go fairly soon, so I'm going to go and plunge right in and ask them, and I'm going to ask them the question as in, what I witnessed was, besides the artistry and the intelligence, the trust, the incredible trust that you all have with one another. As dancers, how do you make that connection? Because you're connecting all the time with one another, and how do you do that?
Well, I think that it's instinctive. Also, you connect to some people and to others you don't. A little bit like in life, you know, it's not always an automatic thing.
Because I kept hearing you say, "Don't drop me on my head."
Do you know, to be honest, with Federico, and whenever you have a great partner, it never even crosses my mind that he's going to drop me.
You know, it's good.
The last famous word, tomorrow I'll be... No, but you just feel there's a language between us, a feeling, and you feel the other person moving in space and you just follow each other.
I'm grateful to Alessandra that she's trusting me to partner her, because of course Alexandra is not any dancer, is she? So it was very good when we first got into rehearsal that I could tell that you know, if I were going to do my part, my bit, she was going to trust me, and that is important, I think, and I'm glad about that.
I think that with the experience, of course, I can feel somebody's hand in 2 minutes. I know if it's not a good partner, I mean, a good partner for me. I don't mean that they're a bad partner otherwise, but it's like, I don't know, I just feel secure and I go, okay, he's great, and I let go, and I let him do it.
Can I ask you both too?
Can I say one more thing
about
trust?
Yes, please, go for it, yes.
Because I think there is a question of trust also with Wayne and with the choreographer. And
of course.
I think that is very important, and I feel very comfortable working with Wayne, and also because I know that he's going to tell me, he's going to mold me, you know, into his idea. And at the same time, sometimes I feel that I'm open to, you know, to say things and to ask questions, and I think this is important in a creation.
Yeah, and if I may add also the fact that I was so trusting, because I never worked with Wayne before, and I know Federico has a lot, so I let go to him because I knew he knew better than Wayne's language. So I thought, okay, I'll go into their world and I'll let them lead me and take me in. So,
and I guess we're making it together, right? So it's not like I come in with a specific idea, like a suit of clothes that I'm trying to put on to two people in front of me. You work with the amazing material that you have there, and I think, you know, the whole of the process for us has been one of kind of solicitation and me maybe suggesting something and then you as much suggesting back. So we kind of invent it together, so it's ours, really. And I think that's where you get that kind of sense of empowerment.
Can I also ask the two of you, and also all of you, but because you two have to go, I have to ask you right away. I'm thinking as a writer, here we have Virginia Woolf, one of the supreme, how would you say, one of the supreme creators of the English language in many ways. I mean, she took it to another level and still takes it that way. For the two of you, did you encounter text, or did you come through the body first in terms of, and Uzma, as the dramaturg, will explain that later, but was there text encounter, or did you come through the body with this work?
For me, it came through the body, and it came through Wayne. I'm probably going to have to do some reading. That would be good. I'll admit that I haven't, but...
Did you know? But Freddie's just had a new baby, so he can read the waves to
Stop. Reading is not part of it, yes.
She was well known for her children.
She was, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can we talk about, and I guess with the four of you while you're still here, can we talk about, because for a lot of people who might come, they might think they're going to see a literal rendition of, you know, something. And this isn't what's going to happen, as you can see here. How did you, first I want to ask the dramaturg, Uzma, how how did you work with Wayne? How did you work with the dancers to take text and take it to the point where it becomes dance?
Well, Wayne and I have been meeting for quite a while before rehearsal started and talking about Virginia Woolf and what we see in her when we read her, what we feel when we read her, and then what are the things that we think would work well on stage and what we want to convey to the audience. And I think you're absolutely right, Bonnie, that going for reproducing the narrative would be bizarre in a case of a writer like Woolf, because she really wanted to get away from this idea that everything has to proceed, there has to be a beginning, a middle and an end, and everything has to proceed in an orderly fashion. She was very much somebody who, in fact, envied music and dance for the way that they can get through to the heart of things, and was always trying to do that in her writing, to actually pare back those narrative underpinnings to the point where you've got only what you just critically need to allow the essence to speak. And of course that's something that dance can do brilliantly well. We talked about this on the first day, didn't we, Alessandra, about essences and...
No, I think that what I feel is that we are exploring the emotions that her writing creates in us. So, you know, we're not telling a specific story, but first of all is what the emotion that created in Wayne, of course, and then Wayne, he actually, I don't know if you know, but you're very wonderful and very great at making us feel what you feel. And so we take over, and then those emotions they get transform into ours emotions. So we are exploring her world, you know, it's not...
And I think, you know, dance is a textual language, right? We're writing, we're authoring, actually. We're authoring a language. We've got a syntax that's kind of like, there are paragraphs, there's a sense in which one is actually trying to transmit an energy through another body and think with a body to make text. But the text happens to be the way in which physicality operates in a space.
I just to say at the end,
translate that.
but I would say I was very moved by all of it. But at the end, with your composer, I thought to me that was the most powerful rendition of, immediately I imagined the end of her life and also her process as well, and what it was like to perhaps be under there, because there's a moment when you're still alive, of course, and also it was in utero as well, much more powerful than Philip Glass's score for, you know, the film. It gave you, it created in me anyway, the sensation, but also the experience of the text. And I would say that for an audience today, maybe sometimes you give audiences something they don't know that they're looking for, which is the experience of the text as opposed to the text.
Yeah, exactly.
The text. And also, I want to talk about audacity, because how do you approach, Wayne, how do you approach this? I mean, this is Virginia Woolf. People are going to be going like this.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
you know, how do you approach this yourself as the captain of this, basically?
Well, I think, first of all, respectfully, because I think partly, you know, the reason we want to do it is because we have a real love of Woolf, yeah, and that there's a sense in which not only the novels and the letter writing and even the suicide note, you know, is an amazing kind of poetry and beauty instilled in it, but also the way of writing, yeah, the process of writing, what it tells us about writing. I think is very analogous with the process of choreography. So when you think about, you know, Woolf and perhaps this idea of a stream of consciousness, you absolutely get that when you're in a studio in a good moment with dancers where you feel that one idea just pours out of you into the next, is the sense of this kind of unfolding when you're making. And I think that's, for me, in a way, she describes the way in which sometimes she writes. And so I think we've got like a lot of connections. Also, she, you know, I've read a lot that she loved dance, right? So there's a sense in which she was very connected to dance already. She was very inspired by dance. And it would be a bit perverse, I think, of us to kind of do the plot, if you like, even though there's often in the novels there's not a lot of action, but to do the plot in dramatic terms. I think it's much more interesting to do actually the spirit of writing, the spirit of place, the way of the stream of consciousness unfolding that we can do in choreography.
So what does a dramaturg bring, because you're also a writer, you're also a director yourself, what does that bring to you? Because I'm always amazed when dancers talk, because there was, the dancers don't talk; they use your body. So when dancers are
dancers do talk,
but not,
they really do.
But they don't stand and talk out this way. To an audience, you talk to one another,
Yeah.
but you don't stand and have conversations with an audience. So I lost my question. I think
it was about expertise, about what does a dramaturg bring.
What does she bring to, what does Uzma bring to you? What do you bring, what does he bring to you? Because it's a continuous flowing process.
I mean, I think it's kind of the same thing. I think if you've got a kind of an expertise, whatever that expertise is, that's a kind of a set of knowledge that can be transferred.
But why do you need one?
Well,
I guess I'm asking you that.
I don't think you need one. I don't think you have to have one. I think, in a way, for me, it's almost like saying, well, why do you need that particular dancer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that particular dancer has a very. When I first wanted to work with Alessandra, I went to New York to persuade her to come on this journey with us, and I had Freddie in mind already about this. You have it in mind already, and it's not just so that they're a good dancer; it's the other things that they bring to a process, and that might be. And certainly with these two, it's a creative kind of imagination where they can help you get into choreographic flow, very important, right? So you're not stopping ideas, so that it's actually, almost if you imagine that's a certain kind of pen that allows you to be able to write in a particular way, yeah? And also then you've got this amazing kind of experience, this layer of experience that actually just can't help but emit from a body. And that's exactly the same in terms of a knowledge of a dramaturg. So Uzma has got kind of an encyclopedic knowledge, although she say she hasn't, of Woolf. She's got a phenomenal ability to be able to notice things or bring to my attention things that I so easily could have missed, a way of reading. And I think one of the pleasures for me has been that actually has provided me with a whole range of other information and context to be able to swim inside. So it's not about telling me, oh, you should do it like this, or this should be the narrative, but it's to say, did you notice this? And then having it in the studio to notice physical things and say, well, if I notice this, I also notice this in the writing. And so there are parallels and kind of convergences in that way. And I think that's the brilliant thing about a dramaturg.
It's almost, as I was sitting there looking, it's almost as if you've all gone to the quantum level of this work. You've gone deep inside of it, separated out all of the big chunks, the iconic chunks, the people, that we know, and you burrowed down into it and separated out all of the things that we take for granted when you read it. And it's almost as if you're showing all of us, that's why you feel like this, because this is here, underneath this.
I mean, I think we're trying to get, to the atoms of the things that are really important. And I think that that's what we're trying to do, right? I don't know if we're going to achieve it. But it's so overwhelming, Woolf, because there's so many phenomenal things that you could do with that materiality. You could spend your whole life making pieces around and about Woolf. Yeah. And all we can do is be able to kind of like synthesize that through our own experience. But it was interesting what you said about this, this end for us is also partly one of the things Woolf said, that she would never be able to describe her own death in writing. And there was something kind of an opening there where almost for us there's a feeling that the suicide isn't a moment of depression and hopelessness. It's a moment of this energy, this collective energy being atomized and being delivered into the universe. That it's that kind of epic. It's kind of, it dematters.
That's what it felt like.
It's more of a freedom. Yeah,
yes.
It's a kind of it's this. So, yeah.
How do you know when a movement, as I was listening to you, I was very interesting to listen, because there's a lot of primal sounds going amongst the three of you, that I knew this was your language, and it was wonderful to hear. It was very sort of primal, and how do you know when something is finished? How do you know when it's finished? How do you know when it's set in this kind of work?
Well, I think it's when it finds its own peace, when the movement finally relaxes, and then it's true, and then that it's there. And then you can, again, in a second phase, you want to tweak again, but I think that when you're not fighting anymore and it just happens, that's usually...
But you almost never get there. Almost you know where you want to get, and it's almost about the journey to get there. And once in a while you think, okay, I was really there, but most of the time and it doesn't mean that it's not good, it's just that you're driving towards an ideal.
Sorry to interrupt. I think the thing that you said earlier about enlivening the transitions is really important, because the first time I heard that, I just thought, Wayne said to the corps de ballet who were rehearsing a big piece, he said, you know, don't think about the shapes, think about the transitions. And I just sort of sat there and thought, oh my gosh, this is kind of a note for life, isn't it? It's actually about really being connected.
The steps.
Yeah. So actually it never gets to the point where it is set. It's always alive. You're always experiencing it, and you're always very, very mindful and very present in the moment of those transitions. So that's what it feels like when it's watching. It feels very full and very alive. It doesn't feel like movements that have been set and are now being reproduced.
It's wonderful, because I think it was Rimbaud who said that it is important as an artist to be absolutely modern. You have to be modern, and I think it means being right now in what is needed now.
Or being present also.
Exactly, being in it, and just looking at her first novel, which is the centenary of the Voyage Out this year, to look at what she did, what Woolf did, as you say, in between the sentences, in between the paragraphs, the thing that happens in between, which seems to me this piece is capturing. So that if you come to it with all of the text in your head, you're going to miss the thing that's in between, which is what you are, if I'm right about this, is what you're making the dance about.
I think that's right. I mean, I think it's not like a literal description of any of the writing. I think it really is. It's that interspace. That's what we're exploring. And I was curious about your idea about truth and how you find a truth in physicality. And I wondered if you could say something more about that.
Yeah, well, I feel that when you stop, you know, you're experimenting with movement, and you know, Wayne is really, I think, the most alive choreographer I've ever worked with. I mean, you really are so, and you give idea and you move, and then suddenly one movement, it's silence almost. From inside, it becomes silence, and then I know, okay, we got it. Like today, we worked on the solo, and suddenly it just went. And we kind of knew we were on the right page. So the truth in movement is when it matches your inner state. You know, when the movement suddenly becomes the same as your inner state, then it's perfect.
A dance exists in time. It is in time. It is time itself, actually, I think. It is literally time. If you don't know anything about time, you can't be a dancer. It's time. How do you build, as a dramaturg, as a choreographer, as the dancers, how do you build this thing called acts? How do you make this, how do you know when you've done that? I know what it is in a play. How do you know that you've done this in a dance?
I think I would say something about time. I would say in choreography it's times, because it's something to do with, yes, perhaps the rhythmic time of the dance, but it's the inner time of the body, the heart beating, the blood pumping through. It's the inner time of the mind, which is different. I can be talking to you, but imagining a picture of Virginia Woolf's house at the same time as talking about something completely differently. You know, there's a sense in which we were able to... I'm always very curious about what this notion of reality is. What is a reality? As if this thing that we are experiencing is the only one, when actually we always know that we've got the voice in the head and the image in the head, and usually all of those things are conflicted. Just to answer the question about the acts, you know, we wanted to, because there was so much stuff, how is it that we could draw something from Mrs Dalloway? How could we draw something from Orlando? How could we draw something from the waves? And in a way, just use those as anchors for three spaces, and those spaces happen to be an unfolding in time. And that's what we've done, although what's interesting, the more we're into it, the correlations between, the things between are starting to come really emerge. And I think that's going to be really interesting in terms of meaning for this piece.
I really want to thank Uzma Hamid, Freddie Bonelli, Alexandra Ferri, and Wayne McGregor.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Magnificent.